Hello, everyone. This is the night session, and I'm your host, Kasatkina's mother. Welcome to our Wimbledon episode brought to you by TennisInsideOut.com. I'm here with my co host, Peter, honorary member of the British press, praised for his ability to make anything about Andy Murray.
This is true.
So, welcome, Peter.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
I was waiting for a reaction to Kasakina's mother line, and there was like nothing. So I was like,
oh, yeah. I mean,
we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that. I was just about to say.
Okay, so
Roger.
19 for the man. It's unbelievable. Record 8 Wimbledon's, won it without dropping a set. Second slam of the year at age 35. It's ridiculous and kind of awesome.
Yeah.
After he won the Australian Open, I was like, I'd like him to have 20. I've decided.
I was like, that's a nice number, and I honestly was like, okay, since Andy didn't win the Australian Open, I'm obviously okay with that again. But I'd like Andy to win the US Open, and I mean, since he won Wimbledon and just cap off the career that he's had, I'm fine with that. And Roger can, walk away just whenever he wants, so other people can win sometime. Anything. Just anything.
Well, it's
just
really,
give them crowns. Anything.
Exactly. It's really funny because my husband said that a guy that he works with is a fan of tennis, like from the Borg era and Jimmy Connors and stuff. And he came up to my husband today and he said, Federer won Wimbledon? And Sean's like, yeah. And he's like, how old is he now? Like 35, almost 36. And the guy goes, is there drug testing in tennis?
Yeah.
Because and of course JD's like, well, that's why Sharapova's been out, so yes. But I mean, especially from people from that era of tennis, like Borg retired at what, 25 or something, which was in a little bit of a fit. He didn't need to retire that early, but
exactly.
But yeah, 35, 36, 37 is, I mean, Tommy Haas is what, 39? I mean,
yes.
Tennis is getting kind of crazy, but Rogers just when he won that Wimbledon in 2012, that was like, oh, so awesome, like, oh, he got to win another one, and then maybe he'll play a couple more years, and maybe he'll get some fluky other slam win or whatever. But it's like, back then you never would have thought 5 years later he'd win 2 more.
Exactly. Yeah, I was wondering, I was like, okay, he's back and rested, and so I had no expectations for him, and so I'm happy for him. And I love how his fans called him olderer.
Yes.
Always the play on words. And his Roger with the 8, I was like, that's ridiculous. Y'all are amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, that's when they do the believe with 19 in it and all that kind of stuff. So this is Roger doing all his posing. He apparently supposedly partied until 5 a.m. and then came in and did press.
Looking refreshed as usual.
Yeah, look at him.
Like he's off the court without sweating.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. He's got some little pod that he goes into or something, and they just spray him, so he just looks perfect. It's the Roger veneer. So I did this little video off the TV because it was just so amazing. Roger was super emotional this time when he won. Especially, he had all 4 of his kids in the stands, and his girls are totally old enough now that they're going to remember this. So that's awesome. But it was so funny because there was a constant battle going on between his two kids. The boy had his fingers all up in his mouth doing really weird, embarrassing stuff. His sister kept trying to be like, no, you're on camera. And then here she finally just, in frustration, shakes her fist at him.
Exactly. They're so cute. It's Leo and Lenny, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I believe Leo was pouting, and I was like, that seriously looks like Roger. And the girls look like Mirka. So they're just perfect. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I love that this was that only the daughter was concerned about her brother with his fingers in his mouth. Because look at Mirka has got this dreamy look on her face. She was just staring at Roger the whole time, like, that's my hubby.
Yeah.
We can buy a house in another country now.
As if they couldn't buy a castle where they live anymore. So yeah.
I mean, it's just stupid amounts of money.
Oh my goodness. They're over 100 million, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was at one point he was making 75 million a year. It was just like,
yeah,
insane. And I was happy when they Mary Carrillo did an extended interview with him on Tennis Channel. And he talked about starting his charity and stuff, and he started it pretty young, and he said that, you know, he had enough money to like take care of his family for like, you know, a couple generations, and it was like, I need, you know, I've got to do something else with this money. It's more than any one person could ever need. And I was like so happy he said that, because it's just like, how can you have that much money and not feel like you have to do something valuable with it? I mean,
yeah.
it's just stupid money. So it's like, you know, you take a deep breath and Roger just made more money than you'll make in your lifetime. It's
yeah, like Oprah and Bill Gates. It's ridiculous.
It's just crazy. So it's just totally awesome about Roger. And the thing about Roger is he's always been somebody that takes his opportunities. It's kind of like, you know, when you look at a draw and like a draw opens up for somebody and you're like, oh, they're totally going to win because the draw opened up, and then they don't. Like so many people, like, you know, go out early when it was like they had so many chances, you know, to win. And it's like Roger is always like, if the door's open, he's going to go through them.
Yeah, he's going to kick the door open.
Yeah. And so that's what happened here. It's just like, you know, the opportunities are there. You want to give them to me, I'm going to take them. So that's how I always felt about Roger, because I really think that he doesn't like dishing bagels to players. But a lot of times he could easily do it. And I always feel like there's one game where he kind of leaves the door open. And if the player takes the initiative and they can get that one game on the board, then, you know, he lets that one game, not, you know, he doesn't like give up, but it's just like he gives a little window of opportunity. And then if they don't take it, then he just goes, fine. You just got to
I think in 2005 and 2006, I honestly wasn't a fan until the French Open in 2009. I like underdogs, and so that's why I like Andy. And so when I saw all of those bagel sets from Roger, I'm like, this is just like, it's demolishing. It's like fun to watch the other player in agony, like hitting beautiful shots, like, which are amazing, but it's like the opponent can do nothing. So
yeah. And I think a lot of the guys have gotten to the, you know, Djokovic had that couple years where it was like, I'm not even going to bother watching, you know, these matches because it's pointless. It actually just gets exhausting after a while. And I mean, we all know that I always like the first half of every tournament, because that's when all the people I like are playing. And then the actual winners that are usually at the end of the tournament, I don't care about any of them. And so a lot of times I don't even watch, you know, semifinals, finals, because it's just like, whatever. Same old, same old.
At the end of some tournaments, especially the Australian Open and the French Open, I'm so tired that I'm like, I'm gonna sleep in and it'll get to the second set and I'll be fine.
Right.
But there's been many times where I'm like up, and of course that's been Andy at the Australian Open.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, so see, you have Andy and I have Roger, you know, for Big Four. It's like I'm happy to watch him win shit. I'm cool with that. But I have noticed that there are some matches where if I'm like tweeting and all that kind of, sometimes I'll miss like a whole game or something because I'm not worried about Roger at all. It's like, yeah, he's gonna get this. You know?
Yeah.
It's like other people you're watching riveted every point because you're just like, I don't know. Oh my god, is he gonna get this game? Oh, it's a break point. Ah. So it's like a different experience, and it is good to have one guy in the Big Four that you like because sometimes you need a break. It's like I don't have to angst over this match; he'll be okay.
Yeah.
Although I guess
I've
some
definitely
fans aren't like
preferred watching Roger's matches, obviously, to Novak's since 2009, and so if Andy's out and Roger's got it, I'm perfectly happy with that. So
yeah. See that's
yeah,
good.
I understand what you're saying.
So, Roger, and this was a little thing that some people might not have even noticed right away.
I noticed it, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, here. Oh, dude. Rafa did his trademark jump and crashed into the doorway, and it was like, you know, the sound. It was just reverberating off the metal. And that was what
thump. I was like, is his head okay? And he's just smiling away, and I'm like, okay, I guess he's okay to play.
Yeah, which, you know, of course, then you start to wonder. It's like the way that this match went. It's like I've said, if nothing else, he probably had a headache because I mean, he hit it pretty hard. I mean, luckily he was conscious of being the ceilings aren't that particularly high there in general, so he didn't seem to leap up like he does when he's outside. So at least he didn't really, you know, put full force behind it. But I'm sure that still had because he like fell backwards after it, you know, a couple steps. It's like that would have been good. The match has been canceled because Rafa knocked himself out.
It was a great match. It was one of my favorites.
Yeah, this definitely was one of the best matches of the tournament. Muller is a good player, and he's an interesting player. He's more old school. Comes to the net a lot. He has a lot of different shots. And I always say that I always like watching Rafa play when he has to play somebody like this because they get Rafa's best tennis out. He does all that running and hitting banana shots and dropping stuff into the corner, and it's not just this like monotone baseline rally crap.
And it's not a serve bot either as well. I mean, it's a serve and volley, and then you go through the motions and everything. And so I like the way he plays.
Yeah. So this was really, it was compelling match. The tennis was good. And it's nice for Muller to have this, you know, late career resurgence. I had actually was surprised that, you know, he doesn't have like more of a stellar record from before. I had thought
I didn't know that he didn't have a trophy until this year. I was like, excuse me?
Yeah. Yeah, I had thought he was higher ranked and all that kind of stuff. I was because I was like, oh, and then he was out for a little while with injury and stuff, and then now he's back and whatever. And I thought, you know, it was like the Tommy Haas thing, you know, like missed opportunities, sort of. But then it was like, oh, he doesn't have a title. I was like, what?
Exactly. I was like, he's 34 years old. He's been on the tournament since 2001, and he doesn't have a single trophy in his cabinet. I was like, oh, goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. And it kind of goes to show you when people like kind of mock, you know, one slam wonders and all that kind of stuff. It's like, look how hard it is just to get a title, you know, because he's excellent player to the extent that we all assumed he had a title, and he doesn't. So I mean, it shows you that if anybody can win a big title or more than one, that's really something that we should be impressed by.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've gotten spoiled by the big four. It's everybody's expectations have gotten extremely unrealistic now.
And everyone from the big four is taking everything. So
Yeah.
it's like when they win other titles, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
he's, finally getting a title. It's like, well, what do you expect when Rafa, Roger, Andy, and Novak are like beating everyone else? And so nobody gets a title until like at the Asian swing, maybe, or
Right.
wherever. So yeah.
Right. You have to go find some bizarre tournament that just started last year or something that no one shows up to, and then hope you can, work your way through. But yeah, and I was thinking about the other day too, about they talk about the invincibility of the big four and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, it's just part of the aura, because guys in the big four have all had where they've taken time off, they've had bad early losses, they've had injuries, they've had stuff, but there's always the other guys are there, even if they're not. So then it still perpetuates that the impenetrable big four. And it's like, it's become its own animal. It's like these people, these players are, they can be beaten. They do have, problems or whatever, but because there's always, well, the other three guys are there or whatever, there's always, it's like they're covering for each other, And so it's still, people go to face one of them and they're like, I can't win. It's the big four, So it's, in recent years, that's, some people have made a few inroads, but it is kind of funny how it's because there's four of them, it's been even more, more of a daunting aura. Here, speaking of people who have broken through.
Oh, Sam. I loved the hell out of this GIF last year. Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
So Sam just dancing along, and there's a guy with a horse's head just dancing in the background, and I forget what song it's to, but it's just classic.
Yeah, and he actually did do this himself. Because this came out on the Millionaire Matchmaker thing, but it turned out it was something of his from a couple of years ago or whatever, that he did this himself. He choreographed it and all that, and I'm like, I have even more respect for him now, because there's just something about the like timing of it. When he goes off to the side and then they come in with the horse. It's just like, it's insane.
And his glasses, and he's has his shirt unbuttoned and he's just working it.
Yes. And it's like, especially because Sam is so not this, he's like kind of like the nerdy accountant kind of guy on the tour, it's just like,
yeah, he's the serious American.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Sam Querrey, whatever, and then you see this and it's like, what? I didn't know he had it in him. But then Parsa, the man who has interesting dirt on all sorts of people, the man who's taken out Djokovic and Murray in consecutive years at Wimbledon in a giraffe costume, which is just absurd in and of itself. And then, the slide pose here in the mall.
Yeah, looking like an 80s teenager.
How you doing? With this little frozen yogurt or whatever. And then this is the primo
looking
here.
like a 70s surfer, just a nice cute little rainbow short shorts.
Yes,
going on right there.
Yeah, which I'm not sure, but they seem to still have the tag on them, so it's just like.
And I don't think, he's not modeling. It's in his kitchen, right?
Right. Yeah, because I was like, is this like a dressing room shot? It's like, I'm just trying these on, but I'm not gonna buy them. But nope, he's in his house.
Yeah.
And he looks really young here. This is possibly a teenager here, I would think.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I feel like maybe Sam has like some secret life that we don't know about. Because there's this, image that he kind of projects there, and then you see these pictures and that horsehead video, and it's like, maybe there's more to this guy than we know.
Oh yeah.
This was an awesome compilation of quotes here, and it was funny because Querrey, they asked him about, you made the quarters at Wimbledon 2 years ago, and then a year ago, and then this year you made the semis, and what about next year? And he's like, go ahead, pencil me in for the final.
I thought that was so cute. Even though he beat Andy, that was cute.
Yeah. And I don't know if you want to talk about Berdyk's part in this.
Yeah, so Berdy is asked about his shoes, and when I saw that he's wearing Novak's shoes with his initials, I was like, what is he doing? And why is he doing that?
Yes.
So an interviewer asked him, and then I'm guessing like 30 minutes later, another interviewer is like, so why were you wearing Novak's shoes? And he was like, did you come in late? And there was like this long pause of like, that question's already been answered. Awkward.
Yes, I was super, and he was like, really, like, I would have been frightened if I were that reporter, because he was really like, did you come in late? Like,
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, and also I think especially not even that just that the question was asked and answered already, but that it's kind of an embarrassing question, because what he was saying was that the other model of shoes hurt his feet, and so these are the ones he has to wear so that he's not in pain, but he's got to wear frickin' Djokovic's face on his shoes on the court.
Exactly.
Which is just insane. But it made me laugh because JD said that they showed the close-up of Djokovic's face on there, and he's like, what is that, his scalps that he's got Djokovic on his shoes?
That would be amazing.
I got him to retire. He's done. So there was some interesting, and there were some cute ones from Roger in here too. I thought it was funny about, they had asked him about the last time, I think it was that how many times before he'd gotten to the final without dropping a set, and he was like, I don't know, none. And they're like, no, 2 times before. And he was upset because he's like, oh, that's a shame, it would have been nice if this was the first time.
I know. I was like, what do you mean? Like, you've won quite a few.
He just wants to keep. He loves that every time he steps on the court, he's made another record. And it's just by virtue of him just being there. It's like, you've got the most matches played, most matches won in a slam, most matches won at Wimbledon. It's just like every time he just like takes a breath, there, somebody's writing something down in the record books. So I thought it was cute because it's like he doesn't, a lot of times he doesn't know about these stats or he doesn't keep track of them, but he's always loves hearing them. It's like, ooh, I did something else awesome again. And here's your Andy, so you can take it away.
Yes. Andy in the Royal Box, and that was the day that they were just saluting all of the British Olympians, and it was such a good moment. Andy looked so cute and so bashful. It's like, okay, yeah. Proud to be a 2-time gold medalist, so yeah. That's my Andy.
So cute. And it was funny about the thing about thanks also for relaxing the dress code.
Which I was like, he's wearing white. Like, he's not really out of dress code. So
well, that's what made me laugh, because I was like, at first I was like, is he kind of shading the dress code thing? Because it was like everybody's all super dressed up, but it's like, but he's got he's following the rules. He's got all his super white on. And then this is
his Insta story that he actually ran out of gas. And I was like, oh. And I was like, I've got to share this with you, Val, because it's perfect for this podcast because, yeah. I wish he didn't, but I mean, it's his hip, and hopefully he's okay, and hopefully he's well for Cincy, which I'm going to, and I just want him to be okay. And there's so many people that were messaging me, and they were like, "Do you think he's okay?" And I'm like, guys, chill. Like, y'all are making me nervous. And I mean, if he takes time off, then that's okay. If he needs to, you know, be done for the year and be refreshed like Roger, like, it's okay. So,
Well,
I don't know.
I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that Andy is gonna play, like, keep playing, you know, for another 5, 6 years or something? Or I've kind of been getting the impression that, you know, he's got a family now, and he's said in a couple different interviews that his priorities have shifted and the tennis thing isn't like everything to him anymore. And I was kind of wondering, like, maybe he's, you know, gonna throw another year in or something and then go, yeah, I'm done.
He said 3 to 4 years, which I'm hoping it's 4 years, obviously, than 3. But I
5 or
mean,
6
for him to go to Tokyo and get another medal, that'd be good, and get a few more Wimbledons, I'd be okay with. And 1 Australian Open, just 1. Just 1. Like Federer, just having 1 French Open career slam, that'd be fine.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is. Yeah, because he's played a lot of. How many finals has he played in Australia now?
I don't know.
Five. I think it's at least 5.
I
Might be
believe so. I don't want to think about it. No.
Well, that was what I was
I'm
so.
pretty sure it's 5.
I was so upset because I really want Stan to get another French Open because I would love that to just be the one thing that Roger only has 1 and Stan has 2.
Oh.
It's like Stan needs to have something up on
That Roger
Roger.
doesn't have. This is
Yeah.
true. I think he will. He's great on clay. And
Yeah.
I had him going to the final with Rafa, and I was, again, from the last podcast, I said I was 7th overall for that racket bracket. So I was pretty proud of myself. So yeah, he's good. He'll make another final at least.
Yeah, yeah. I hope I'd like him to get another slam, but I mean the fact that he's got 3 is just fucking incredible because it's like no one ever expected him to win 1, which I always thought he could. That like around like 20 end of 2012, I was like, people are underestimating Stan. He's really, you know, he's made a lot of changes and he keeps getting better. And then he had that fantastic match with Djokovic in the beginning of 2013, and then it just escalated from there. But so it's like
Exactly.
if he's stuck at 3 or whatever, there's nothing to complain about. But
yeah, when he was, I guess, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
I think it was at the US Open, either 2013, when he was playing Andy. I was like, okay, this is somebody who's going to be a finalist, or he's going to win a major or 2. He's not, you know, just going to be there winning a few tournaments.
Right. Yeah, and that was, I think, was that when Andy was having the back issues, like the start of it? Yeah, and then I remember I was like, okay, Andy wasn't at his best, but I'm like, that was some damn fine tennis from Stan. And I'm like, this is, you know, he's, you know, showed promise and then kept with it. So it's like, this is, you know, something's bound to happen somewhere.
Yeah.
and it did. So, but yeah, there was a little bit of pressure on Stan about getting that career slam because it was kind of funny that he won the Australian 1 year, then the French the next year, and then people were kind of joking about, oh, he'll win Wimbledon the 3rd year, and he didn't, but then he went and won the US Open. So it's like,
exactly. I was like, okay. Just like Maria Sharapova won every 2 years. So
yeah,
they just thought it was fitting. And me too. I was like, okay, go ahead. Just win 1, and Andy can win the others. We're okay with that.
Yeah, all the others.
All of them.
All of them. But this was bad because before Wimbledon, Stan came up with this knee injury that he said was from going from clay to grass. And he was like, sometimes it happens, you pull something from changing surface. But the fact that he talked about it in press quite a bit is unlike him. And so that made me worry, because it seemed that he was taking it pretty seriously. And he said he wasn't sure if it was, something minor that would go away or if it was going to be bad news. And when he showed up to Wimbledon, he just did not look comfortable out there at all. If you can't move, if you can't bend down for shots, I mean, you're toast. And so
yeah,
that's what happened. I mean, he was clearly hampered, and you can see him here. He was icing his knee, and he's even said apparently during the I think to the umpire, because he was asking for more ice, because he said as soon as his knee warmed up again, the pain was excruciating.
yeah.
So he had said he's taking off enough time to heal it. He doesn't want to screw around with it, so he's not sure when he's going to play next. He is on the entry list for Cincinnati, so like
Good.
you,
Yes.
you and I will both be nervously waiting to see who's going to turn up. But yeah, they are on the entry list right now. There's very few people that aren't on there, since he always has like all the top people on both sides. It's like it's pretty rare when people don't show up. So fingers crossed. But honestly, if he's not 100%, then I'd rather he take the time off and heal up, because we've seen with players like Raonic and stuff, when they just keep playing, they keep making it worse, and they maybe make a few rounds in a tournament and then they're screwed up again. So especially he's getting older, he's got to be just like Roger does, you got to take the time. So
how old is he? I'm sorry.
Oh God, 32, I think.
Okay.
So in today's day and age,
Yeah.
previously he would have been retired by now, but in the era of Roger, he's got another 5 years to play. Part of the thing too is Stan was a late bloomer, so he doesn't actually have as many miles on him as some of the other players. So he should be able to have at least a couple more good years, but he still does have to take care of himself. So we'll see what happens. And we talked about the next gen in the last podcast, and Sascha, I think, what did he go out in like the third round? Fourth.
I know Karen did.
Yeah. Hachanov made it to the third, and so did Donald.
And he went out to Raonic in the fourth round.
Right.
Sascha did.
Yeah, and he beat Tiafoe, who's another next gener, and he took out Offner, who kind of came out of nowhere, beating Jack Sock, because otherwise that's who Sascha would have been playing. But yeah, and the Raonic match was a 5-setter, and he just kind of fell apart in the 5th set. But this quote was it: "For 3 years now, everybody keeps telling me you'll learn from defeats. I'm so tired of learning."
When I read that quote, I was like, that is hilarious. Yeah, I mean, just like Andy, so tired of learning from the Australian Open and just the defeat that's always been in people's eyes. It's like, it's not fun just losing all the time.
Yeah. And Stan has said that a lot of times, that is the part of tennis that people don't think about, that you are pretty much you're losing every tournament. You maybe make it 2, 3, 4 rounds or whatever, and then you lose. So it's like you have to learn how to accept that you're gonna, unless you're a major champion, you're gonna be losing more than you're winning. So this was, I had said I wanted to go on a little rant about this. The next geners were like we said, we had a couple 3rd and 4th rounds, but a lot of them went out in the 1st. And some of these kids are still pretty young, but the middle generation everybody's been talking about for years has kind of done not much of anything. Raonic was the one kind of outlier in the old men of the tournament. And I just feel it's like I love Roger. I love Roger winning stuff. I know a lot of people love the like Cinderella Venus story, but I feel like it's starting to get a little ridiculous, and it's not good for tennis when you've got the same people winning for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, if you were an objective person who doesn't know anything about tennis, and you hear that the woman who won Wimbledon is 37 years old and has an autoimmune disorder that causes chronic fatigue, and that's who won. It's like a lot of people look at it, well, that's because Venus is a great champion, she had a chance to win and all this kind of stuff. But it's like that final happened is what should have happened, because I was watching, it was really interesting. Venus is a super smart player. When they were in the rallies, Venus was already moving before Muguruza even hit the shot. She knew where it was going to go.
Oh yeah.
And so you'd watch a point, and it's like Venus was taking like one or two, slowly steps, and Gabby's, running back and forth. But Gabby is 14 years younger, and so she was able to do it, and had the more like strength and stamina. And I mean, she's also a good player. But it's like, Venus gets far in tournaments because she's, a smart and talented player. But there comes a point where it's like some of these younger players have to step up, because they should be winning some of these matches. And I thought
with Venus on grass, to me, it's understandable as a 5-time champion. But I mean, other tournaments, they have stepped up against Venus and a few others. But you're right.
Yeah, but it's like Roger even said it in press today. He after his 5 a.m. partying, they're like, he was still awfully lucid to come in and talk about tennis. He was saying it himself, that these kids, that he says none of them serve and volley. He says, so he's like, you look at their stats, and like they came to the net like 2% for the whole tournament. And he goes, so when I see this person across from me in the draw, I know that they will never be at net. And that opens up this whole world of tactics of things I can do, because I know they'll never be up there. So
and
he said it himself.
a really hilarious video that he did with just eating up tournaments. Excuse me, like Pac-Man is like nom nom nom, and I was like, he's so precious. And the way he said nom nom nom, I was like, oh my goodness, this dork over here winning all these tournaments.
Yes. And it's but that's what it is. It's like I've been noticing that about even the players that I like. And like Khachanov is one of them, Borna, and Sascha. It's like they're good players, they can hit big, they've got a big serve, whatever, but there's no plan B. It's like if things start to go awry, someone like Roger goes, well, I'm going to start going to the net more, or I'm going to use more slice, or, and it's like a lot of these kids are just like, hit it harder. That's their plan B. So
yeah,
that's part of why things aren't changing. And I don't know if that's a problem with the coaches, or that the players themselves are stubborn. I don't know, but something has to change, because we can't have like a 45-year-old guy that comes out on a stretcher and still wins the match.
Yeah, I think it's both, with the way that it's like, oh, okay, we hit it harder, and then there's not the tactics being shown. I think with the hard courts, it's like, okay, that's all you do, and you're just out there hitting away the ball and just bashing the other submission. And sometimes it doesn't work that way.
Right. And that's how a lot of these kids get injured too. A lot of the young guys are getting hip injuries and stuff, and having to have surgery at a young age. And it's like the way Dom has been playing has been working for him, but he's hitting with, more spin than Rafa ever did. And you can see that he's just like kind of like wrenching his body over and over again to make these shots. And it's like he's just going to rip himself in half at some point. It's like you don't have to hit that way every time. You have to decide when to make that shot and then conserve your energy doing different things. Because that's like Delpo has that ridiculous, 120 mile an hour fear hand. He doesn't use it on every shot, and he has wrist problems as it is.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say he has wrist problems as it is. So it's like, imagine if he was hitting it like that.
Yeah, and you can see Andy Murray constructing the points. And I see so many others when they construct the points. That's the beauty of tennis to me. That's the tactics and the mental fortitude. And when they're not constructing the points and they're just serve botting away, it's like, okay, like, do you want to play tennis and actually try to get at your opponent and learn what he's doing so you can hit him off the court as well with your different tactics? Or do you just want to play your game and see if that's going to be best? Because most of the time it's not. Right.
And it's funny about the just play my game, because that's what they say in press conferences all the time. It's like, oh, I'm not concerned about what they're doing. And it's like, no, you should be concerned about what they're doing, because you need to adapt. I don't really understand. Like, obviously, you shouldn't play a completely different game than you know how to play. But there should be something like, if I keep hitting it cross court and they keep scooping it up and passing me, it's like, well, then you need to try to do something else. And they don't do that. They just, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over. And they're insane.
Yep.
So, and I mean, sometimes you do see glimmers of it with some of the players, that they do figure out some different things, but they're just not consistent enough with it. They kind of fall back into old patterns when they get, nervous in a match, and then that's when everything falls apart. So I said these kids that are only like 20 or whatever, there's still time for them to work some things out, but there's a lot of talk about that middle lost generation, and it's part of it is just because the top four guys were so good, but it's also just seems like something's been kind of lost a little bit in how people play tennis.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move on to our next window. And we're heading into the ladies. She had an amazing tournament. She played a really tough match with my girl Kerber, and got through that and just kind of slayed. I mean, she was really confident, and I thought it was funny in an interview that she was talking about that she hated grass before, and that she said that she was complaining about it. And then she made it to a final, and she was like, and then I just stopped complaining and realized, hey, my game's pretty good on grass.
Her interviews are so cute. I love her.
Yeah. Yes. And I thought that is a criticism that's been leveled against her a lot of times, is her attitude. And I thought it was kind of an acknowledgement of that she does have a tendency to get into a negative frame of mind or something, and that when she's feeling positive and feeling confident, this is what happens, and it's a wonderful thing. So, but yeah, she's got 4 titles and 2 of them are slams.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
When she was against Serena, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, when she was against Serena, what year was that? Was that 2015? And she won. I was like, damn, she's good. She's gonna win stuff.
Yeah, she's tall. She covers the court quickly. She's powerful. She's kind of ridiculous about hitting, winner after winner. She can angle it back and forth, and like I said, she's got the wheels to run stuff down. So this was really great from her. And this is when I like her. It is kind of a funny thing how I don't enjoy her when she gets into that kind of dark place and she gets negative, and then her game kind of it suffers and it gets kind of one dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
And when she's feeling good, it's good things happen. So hopefully this will inspire her. And other, because I know everybody loves consistency.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah, I think after the second one, that'll be a catalyst. Like, I can do this. And they made a lot of the deal about, she beat Serena in one slam and Venus in another. And I think, what did they say? She's the first person to do that, I believe.
I think Martina didn't do it, did she?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But in any case, it's rare.
Yeah,
but
rare.
But JD made a good point about that the long time they were playing each other in finals. So
yeah, so that was a little difficult.
Yeah. So what was the net? Oh, here's me. You said you wanted to say some stuff about Venus, or did we cover that before?
I mean, we can talk about Venus all day long for me. I mean, I just love her fighting spirit. She's, again, 37, and she's not going to quit, just like Serena. She's not going to be like, okay, down on herself, and she's just done for the day. No, she doesn't play like that. She's so graceful, so elegant, so poised that I just love her.
Yeah, and I like that. She said that in the press conference too, about she's kind of tired of everybody talking about her age and, when are you going to retire and all this kind of stuff, that she's, it's not like she's not going to let you know. So it's just like, as long as I'm playing tennis, let's talk about the tennis, that's what's important.
Mm-hmm.
So I know my timeline on Twitter is just, out of their minds every time she plays. So obviously there's no reason for her to stop.
Yeah.
And here's this. I'm so sorry that we haven't figured out yet how to do the sound on these podcasts. Google Hangouts is weird with the sound issue. And last time we played all of these videos and no one could hear them. So so for now, but I'm going to try to do a post and put some of these in there, because a lot of these videos are really cute. And this was Garbiñe talking about whether she wanted Cilic or Roger to win. And she was like, oh, come on, I don't want to answer that question. They're like, no, we want to know. And she said, I like Cilic, but I want to see if Roger is elegant dancing.
Uh-huh.
And it was
so cute.
She was so dreamy the way she said it too, like, Roger.
And they don't do dancing anymore, and I don't know when that stopped. I know Andy didn't want to do it the first time around.
Yeah.
So I don't know when it stopped, like, with Andy, and it's like, okay, the British were like, okay, we're not doing this. So, yeah.
Yeah, which is terrible.
I think it's sad. It's a cute little tradition.
Yeah, and it's like a nice thing, and especially if you like both players, it's like, oh, you get to see them do and obviously Garbiñe was looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably if she had asked Roger, he probably would have done it. So, especially after he was completely drunk, he had been up for anything.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and here's I'm going to talk about the rest of the ladies tournament, and the story was kind of Rybarikova, who a lot of people didn't even know who she was. And
yeah, I haven't seen her play more than 4 matches, and she beat Pliskova in the second round and made good going to the semis, and I was like, okay,
yeah, this
girl's pretty good.
Yeah, she was pretty amazing. And she actually took out Coco Vandeweghe, which I think was partially, there was more than one commentator who said that Coco got completely blown away by everyone was thinking that she was like the American that was going to, break through at Wimbledon and all, and she felt like a ton of pressure. She definitely should have done better in this match. Rybarikova was playing well, but Coco was obviously like really tense throughout the whole thing. So
Yeah.
once we seem to always, we're so desperate for an American star that it's like if anybody shows a glimmer of promise, we just suddenly go and they're gonna win 4 slams, and then the person like has a meltdown.
Yeah.
So, and it's like I don't want to tell people to ignore American tennis players, but it's like maybe we could dial back our expectations a little bit and go, we hope she'll do well, instead of going
Yeah, I
our
certainly
best
have.
hope to win, you know.
Yeah. I mean, putting her on the cover and everything, I'm like, okay, sure. Let's
Yeah.
do this. Let's see if she's gonna make good on that. But
Yeah, and
I get
that's,
the pressure.
I guess some people like thrive on that and find that awesome, but then other people go, "Oh my god, what if I screw up?" and blah blah blah, and then it affects their game. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't remember. I think it was Nicole Gibbs said that, you know, after she would get like horrible, nasty comments on Twitter, that when she'd go out for her next match, she was like, "Oh, and everybody's gonna be watching this, and if I lose, then they're gonna make even more fun of me, and then they're gonna
Oh.
say this is why women shouldn't make the same amount of money as men." And she was carrying all that with her into each match, and it's like this
Yeah, I
sometimes a
knew that
little.
she. Sorry, go on.
I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that she had talked about all of the Twitter hate, and so has Madison and Naomi Osaka. And I just think that it's so sad that, like, after the match, especially with all of the betting going on, that they received so much hate. But yeah, to carry that with you to the next match is just sad. And it's like, okay, you gotta file that, out of your mind and delete that. And so
Yeah,
for that to
that's
happen to Gibbsy is sad. I really like her.
yeah, and especially her because she's such a nice person. It's not like she's like a brat on the court and all, screwing stuff up. And it's like she's a hard worker and does her best. And it's like
Hmm.
she's a terrible person to get any kind of stuff. Just like when I was looking at Gavrilova's timeline, she had it looked like someone had texted her like a bunch of hate filled stuff, and I'm going, how did they even get her number? I mean, that was like extra creepy. It's like not
Hmm.
only is it hate, but it actually came to your phone.
Hmm.
So I think a lot of people don't understand, because I notice a lot of people tag the players in, stupid snarky tweets and stuff, and it's like, do you realize it's not just you sending this stuff? They're getting 100,000 tweets from people who think they're funny, you know, and then
Hmm.
that's what they're absorbing all of that. It's like I think sometimes
Hmm.
people forget that there's a human being on the other side.
Yeah. And Madison quote tweeted a lot of the haters, and they were like, why are, you giving in and showing this? And she was like, I'm wanting to expose these trolls and for Twitter to do something about it, or for them to be ashamed. And that was good. I applauded
Right.
her because they need to be ashamed of how they're treating tennis players. And for people to be off Twitter just because we've got a bunch of yahoos going around talking smack, it's just annoying.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And yeah, and you'll notice a lot of times, like if they publish like a BuzzFeed article of all these like hate-filled tweets and stuff, that everybody will go and find those people on Twitter and say, what the hell is wrong with you and stuff. And most of those people all like run away and make their accounts private and all that kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
it's like, oh, amazing. It's not a great feeling to get a bunch of hate-filled tweets every day, is it?
Yeah.
So
It's like
it
now you're anonymous. Sure.
yeah. So moving on to this was I did a whole post on the website when the draw came out about how the tennis gods hate us. um, there were so many first round matchups where it was like players that you wanted to see throughout the whole tournament, and they were playing each other in the first round, like Delpo Kakanakis.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
this was
That's
Sloane's first match back
yeah.
after her foot injury that she was out for a year, and she comes back and she plays Ali Risk in the first round. It's like, come on.
Yeah. I love both of them so much.
Yeah, and Ali had a great grass season for her. She's won, a lot of. This was a good win for her. I mean, obviously Sloane was just coming back, but she did really well in class, and I'm hoping that she keeps improving. And I hope Sloane seems to be feeling good and stuff, but obviously she's going to be a little rusty. It's going to take her a little while to get back. But I loved this photo because this is such a great handshake.
Yeah, Sloane's smile is so good. Oh,
Yeah,
I love her.
I always call her a tennis Barbie because she's just like so perfect. She has just like the most amazing skin, and she's always got these super cute outfits on. I love it when she's got the like bright peach on and stuff. And she's just, everything about her is just perfect. And
yeah, Under Armour does well for her.
yeah,
Andy, on the other hand, I mean, in the press interviews, he has like this really cute blue one, and it's got like little pink on it, and I'm like, I love that hoodie, and I couldn't wear it. I mean, I just don't want to, but the way he rocked it with his shoes out and everything, I was like, damn, Under Armour does well for both of them.
yes. So yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think I've got a picture from a couple years ago where Andy had this like bright blue, like shiny jacket on, and it was like 80s rock star jacket, but it looked really good on him. It was like,
I think that was the Adidas photo shoot, if I'm recalling what you're saying, and yeah, it looked good.
It was actually something he wore to the like ESPN desk. So
okay, yeah.
So it was kind of cool, but it's kind of funny. Andy should wear more color and stuff because it looks good on him.
Yeah.
There's Bethanie. We had just talked about Lucy and Bethanie doing the right thing with doubles and making it fun for fans and all that kind of stuff in our last podcast. And then I'm assuming most of you know that she had a terrible, terrible knee injury at this tournament. She ran up to the net, and honestly, it didn't even look like that big of a. Her feet just slipped a little bit, but her knee just completely like twisted around the wrong way, and she was screaming in agonizing pain for what seemed like a year. I mean, it was the most heart-wrenching thing I've ever heard or seen, and it was Kirstea, her opponent, came across the net to try to help her, and everyone else just kind of stood there like statues, which made it even more horrible. But she I think it was she had a Facebook video afterwards when she had recovered from being in the hospital. She has to have surgery. She had like dislocated her kneecap, and then she blew out some stuff under the knee. So it's super serious.
Yeah. When Serena approached her and she saw her knee, she just had to look away, and she's like, this is not normal. This is what you see in the movies. And the way like she was screaming in pain, I was like, I can't listen to this. And so when so many people kept on replaying it, I'm like, let's just stop. So yeah.
Yeah, it was like I was like crying for like 10 minutes afterwards because it was just so horrible, and you were just thinking, it's like, somebody go out and help her. Oh my God. I mean, it was like, it didn't expect anybody to like fix her knee, but it's like you would just think human reaction, someone screaming for help, that you at least run out and like comfort them and try to keep her still until, the proper, paramedics can come and stuff. But it was like everybody just kind of stood there. And even Kirstea said that she was shouting at them, bring a stretcher, do something, because she said someone needs to time it, because she said it felt like forever. And Wimbledon swears it was only a minute before they got somebody there, which may be true, because I know it's sometimes when something horrible happens, it feels like it's forever, and it
felt like a lifetime.
But I said it was just kind of shocking, and we talked about this, I think, before, about when the players are cramping in press conferences and stuff and no one helps them, and it's like, because there are so many rules about, you're not allowed to touch a player, you can't go out onto court, if you're not an official doctor, you can't treat the player. So it's like So then when something like this happens, no one can act like a normal human being. They're all left standing there going, are we allowed to go out there? Should we do anything? You know, it's the world of, you know, lawsuits and crazy people and stuff has kind of just like ruined everything.
Yeah.
So, but this is, I love this video with them with the sitting dance, because Bethanie is just a font of positivity. She's that's apparently everybody on tour loves her. And she's planning on coming back. She's got a long rehab ahead of her, but
she's a fighter.
Yeah, and I wish her all the best, because this was just absolutely a horrible thing. And she's been playing so well, and her and Lucy have been playing well together, and it's just an absolute shame. So we wish her the best. And in more doubles news, Kubat Mello played this unbelievable, they had to close the roof to finish the match. That's how long the fifth set went. And I just loved their reaction to this. They were just like,
I love Mello. His reaction was priceless. He's so cute.
and Kubat was like, he was dancing. He was hugging and kissing everyone. When they went up to their boxes, it was like absolute screaming mayhem. And I just love it when people are this euphoric over a win, because, you know, we see a lot of people that are like super jaded and, you know, oh, you know, I won again kind of a thing. This is just, I mean, this is what you want to see.
Yeah.
And I love Luca here, just like molests him on courts. It's like so awesome. And then it was really sad, because then in contrast, the women's final was, honestly, was it like 50 minutes or something, and it was a double bagel. Just awful. They're just totally outmatched. And it was Nicolescu and Chan, and they were kind of just like half laughing through the second set, because it was just, there wasn't anything they could do. You know, I think it was more devastating for these guys to lose this, you know, 4-hour match, really, than the double bagel, because it was like, well, it was over quickly. You know, I think sometimes it's harder when it's like you played for 5 hours and you could have won, and you didn't. You know, that's what kind of keeps you awake at night, I think. Yeah, this is.
And that's Alfie and the wheelchair doubles with Alfie Hewitt, and Gordon Reed. And they were the defending champions. And Gordon Reed said, "Never did I think we'd fill the stadium while the women's singles match was going on." And it was just so wonderful. I love that match. And in the picture, you see Alfie pointing to, I think, the crowd, and he's got his muscles up, and I'm like, oh, he's precious.
Yeah, that's what actually, because when you sent me these pictures, I was like, I thought he was doing the pose, like, you know, look how big my bicep is.
Yeah, I screenshot it at the right moment.
Yeah, she's like hella cute.
Back the Brits.
But yeah, Wimbledon is so great that as a tournament for that, they support everything. They go see the legends, they watch the kids, they, you know, men and women. It's
mixed doubles. They enjoy tennis, and that's what makes Wimbledon special.
Yeah, and I like that. It's like people pack in and sit on a hill and watch it on TV, because they want the atmosphere and to see the big matches, and then they're on all these courts are all full. I think it's great, because because that's really what Wimbledon always should be. Wimbledon is kind of like the epitome of everything tennis, and
Mm-hmm.
it's cool that the fans are so supportive for it, and you know, people are camping overnight for tickets and stuff like that. It's pretty cool that it's, especially, you know, here in America where tennis is, you know, not the most popular sport. It's nice to see that, you know, it gets this level of love.
Yeah.
Moving on. Okay, and you wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, and so Steph in the US said, gosh, it's so nice to have presser transcripts for Wimbledon after the Roland Garros holdout. And I always love watching the press conferences and the differences in how people talk about the matches and the tactics, like we were saying earlier. I think even though that there's certain people that have dumb questions, that when the players are like, what? You get to see all of the different personalities of the tennis players and how Roland Garros just a few videos, and I'm like, where's an interview? Where's like any transcript? Like, I get press embargoes, but there was practically nothing to enjoy, like nothing to tweet about. And I'm like, okay, let's just watch the tennis and let's just see how they're going to play next, because we have no idea from their reactions how they're going to play after the match.
Right.
So it was just really frustrating.
Yeah, there's it seems like there's been even more of a push from tournaments to kind of control the message.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people who've been in the business a while are kind of resentful of bloggers and Twitter, and you know, that they're kind of, you know, getting a hold of the information, and then, you know, their articles, they don't see their articles as being as valuable or whatever. But the problem is that a lot of the articles that are done from a press conference say the same thing. You'll see the same, like, you know, they'll pick out the one kind of inflammatory quote or whatever, and then that's what 50 articles are about. And then everything else that the player said that was maybe way more interesting is lost forever.
Yeah.
And you also lose context a lot of times. You know, a lot of times I read like
totally taken out of context.
you know,
So
you read
many
a
times.
right, you read a paragraph of something and you're like, this person's an asshole. And then
Uh-huh.
you go and read the whole transcript and you go, oh, well, they were trying to explain this, or the question was framed that way, or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And I learned that when I started doing interviews, that you know, as a writer, you have a lot of power, and you can totally frame what someone says and give it any spin you want. I mean, it's, even though it's their words, however you cut and arrange it or comment on it gives people an impression. So, I mean, that's why a lot of players are extremely wary of interviewers and press conferences and things.
Mm-hmm.
And that releasing the transcripts and videos and stuff kind of keeps everybody honest. And I think if you're still writing good articles and making good observations, and that a lot of times a lot of the journalists, they talk to the player outside of the press conference as well, and so they have added value that way. I don't see a need to completely close the doors on letting any information out. I don't like that trend, and especially since if you look at press conferences other than like the slams, there are less and less press there each time. So it's kind of like, do you only want 2 people covering your tournament, or do you want to open this up so that more, you know,
Everyone knows about your tournament and you can sell a whole lot more tickets. Yeah. It's
right,
just silly.
right. Yeah. So I agree with you on that, that when you get people frustrated with a lack of information and they can't see their favorite players and they can't make gifts out of stuff, it's like, it makes people go, oh, fuck it then, and then they just don't pay any attention to your tournament. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not the way to go. So we're always talking about that these Aussie boys. They steal a lot of headlines. Tomic gave a unbelievable presser where he talked about being bored on court. He said that it really doesn't make any difference to him if he goes out in the first round or the quarterfinals. He's still making enough money to last a lifetime, so he doesn't give a crap. And he also said he faked an injury in his previous match in an attempt to break the opponent's momentum. So there's no lie, it was a horrible, a bunch of horrible stuff to say.
Yeah.
But as a result, he got fined this substantial amount, and then on top of it, Head Rackets dropped him.
Yeah, I was really surprised at that result. I was like, really? Was that serious? So.
Yeah, and especially a lot of people were giving them side eye over them backing Sharapova after a drug conviction, and it's like, but Tomic says a few stupid things in a press conference, and that's not on brand for you, that's not the kind of motivation we want to hear about. It's like, I think this is something that they could have maybe talked to him about, but to just make a big show of dropping him was pretty awful. And
yeah,
I think the fine thing was it's hard for the tournament because he's basically said, I used an MTO for not a valid reason, which is against the rules. But other players have done it. He's just the person being honest about it. And then that's another thing where it's like, now, okay, so something I say in a press conference can lead to a fine.
Yeah. And when he said that he was unmotivated, everyone was like, well, is everyone always motivated to go to work, on Mondays and every day? It's like, no, you show up, you do your job, and sometimes you hate it. Sometimes you quit your job. So why can't he, have the same reactions and say the same things?
Exactly. And it's that thing about expectations again, that everybody is always supposed to be super excited to be there and to love all their opponents, and to think that it's just a privilege that they get to play tennis for a living and all that crap. And if anybody says, like, I had a headache and my knee's been hurting for 6 months and I just didn't feel like playing today, it's like, oh, you're a horrible person, you're going straight to hell. Just
like, that's not the way to treat players.
No. And it's like, I am not a Tomic fan, but I thought this was way overboard.
Yeah, his treatment was way too harsh.
And there was another Australian article that I thought was really well balanced, because they kind of said all about what happened and that this wasn't the best thing to say, etc., etc. But then they talked to a few like former players and stuff who said, this still, though, this is kind of a cry for help. Tomic's had he has a difficult father, and seems to have some difficulty dealing with this, expectations and all that kind of stuff, that maybe people should be trying to help him instead of just trying to, somebody said, are they going to revoke his Australian citizenship next?
Yes.
And I said, and I mean, I don't know, maybe he's a total horrible person to deal with behind the scenes, and, we're not, maybe they have tried and, it's been fruitless. Maybe that's the case. But I said, I feel like
more times than not. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I just felt like this was, overboard related to the point of tarring and feathering,
Yeah, more times than not, there's obviously issues going on with the father, especially with the female athletes being pushed so young. And there's been so many horror stories that, I mean, it very well may be that that's what's going on with him.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to be a cash cow for someone who'd be awful and just treat me like crap. So yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think it's just it isn't always another one of those things where we don't always know everything.
Yeah.
That's why it's hard. People immediately pronounce judgments on social media, and it's like, did you get the other side, or were you there, or it's like we only know what's presented to us, and everybody's got an opinion, but it's like sometimes it's just you can't completely judge someone because you don't know what their life is like.
Yeah.
On to something maybe just as
More fun.
ridiculous. Maybe just as ridiculous, but more fun.
Yeah, more fun to talk about.
Yeah, and I said that I want this job. I want to be this woman who gets to walk up to this boy and say, "Pull your pants down."
Oh gosh, Val.
I mean, that's literally her job. It's like,
oh wait, do I see color? Like, just show me a little bit more. Oh, yep, nope, unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, they actually said that they told this kid to see when you bend over, on return, people are gonna see the underwear. So it's just like, bend over.
It was
for me,
clearly
babe.
visible. So yeah.
My whole thing about this is, in the real world, I find colored undergarments under white horrible. I think it's ridiculous. But in tennis, where these guys are sweating so much that everything they wear becomes see-through, I understand when they don't want to wear white shorts and white underwear. I think that's a lot of times why the guys wear black or navy blue underwear, because they don't want to show the world everything.
Yeah, I know Dominic has worn black a few times.
Yeah,
I'll just say that.
Yeah. Everyone knows the Dom photos. But you can see, look at how his see-through his clothes. It's like he might as well be wearing mesh, So
Yeah.
it's like, if he's got white underwear on, we're gonna see a lot of things, which would be lovely, but not for him, I expect.
Which would be lovely.
I think the censors might have something to say about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
You could just follow the Tommy Haas school of thought and not wear any underpants. That also works. So, Commando Tommy. But yeah, this was just, and I'm not exactly sure what the reasoning behind Wimbledon's thing is, where they really cracked down on the colors thing. Because a few years ago, the girls were wearing some of their shorts underneath their skirts were orange or pink or whatever, and people had
Tatiana Golovin was wearing red, and they were like, okay. And Venus was wearing, I think, gold or some kind of, I'm pretty sure it was like a gold or a yellow bra, and then after restroom break, she changed. So I don't know if anything was said or what, but
yeah, which that's what they said, that they were horrified that this apparently happened like in the middle of a match. They were asking to see this kid's underwear, and they were like, "We're not." They didn't mean for it to be that public thing. They're like, someone got overzealous about. They're just supposed to tell me, like, maybe at the end of the set or something, like you just said. Do this off camera, not at the coin toss. Show me your underwear. I mean, oh my god. Which luckily this kid found it amusing. So at least that, because otherwise, absolutely horrifying. I remember with Fabio being completely embarrassed when they came out and they cut the end of his headband because it was too long. That was a couple of years ago.
What?
You don't remember that?
No, I don't really follow Fabs that much, but they cut his headband?
Yeah, he had like the well, like this kid has, with you tie it in the back, and his long. He had the long pieces hanging. And they said it can only be like 3 inches or something. So they came out with scissors and they cut the ends of his headband off.
And it was white?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Yeah, it's just
Wow.
I'm all for like tradition and classic stuff, but this, you know,
That was stupid.
it gets a little absurd.
Yeah.
Oh, you get to talk about Andy
And
again.
Andy. So, oh, yeah, it's not playing. But pretty much, an interviewer asked, or excuse me, basically announced Sam is the first U.S. player to reach a major semifinal since 2009, and Andy is just like unamused, and there's wonderful captions to his
Yeah.
reactions. It's like male player, and it's like looks unamused, and then he grunts, and then the guy was like, "Excuse me," and Andy's like, "Male player," and the guy was like, "Oh yes, yes, male player," and the grunt at the end really killed me. I was like, "Oh my goodness, that's my boy." Standing up for women's tennis and women's athletics. So that video has the clip of Serena watching it. And Serena's quote was, "I don't think that there's a female player, and there really shouldn't be a women's athlete that is not totally supportive of Andy Murray. He has spoken up for women's issues and for women's rights, and he does it again. That's who he is. He has such a wonderful mother who's been such a strong figure, and he's done so much for us on the tour. We love Andy Murray." And I love how she said that. It's like, we love Andy Murray, like Bond, James Bond. She repeats it. I was like, yes.
Yeah, that's when people talk about, you know, about Andy being a feminist, and it's like with his mother, she'd kill him if he wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, everyone should be supportive of women's tennis. And when people talk about equal pay, like it's like, oh, okay, begrudgingly. It's like,
Yeah.
what? Who are you? Get out of here. It's 2017. Grow up, man up, shut up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my little rant.
Yeah. I understand it because a lot of people argued about this, and I get that, you know, when Andy's in a press conference for his match and they're talking about, you know, his opponent, I understand there can be an assumption that you're talking about men's tennis.
Yeah.
So in you know, in this case, I don't think it's anything anybody needs to be super critical of. The problem comes in a lot of times with these, like, you know, on ESPN or something, where they say, you know, no one has ever won Wimbledon 8 times, and it's like, well, no man has done that. You know, it's like, that's kind of when they screw it up, when they make these all-encompassing statements.
Yeah.
But the thing about
it's like
this,
Serena has, Venus has. So sorry to interrupt, but like you're just saying that when all of the people were like, oh, you finally, or excuse me, you've won 2 gold medals now. You're the first one. And Andy's like, no, Serena has, Venus has. Like, I'm not. So yeah.
yeah, exactly.
He's a good guy.
And it's like,
That's
and
why
I don't mind that he says it in these cases, because I think people kind of need to be reminded, because it's been a long time where men's tennis is the default.
Yeah.
And that they always, if they're saying anything about the women, they always say, you know, first woman to do it, or in the women's tennis, you know, but then if they're talking about the men, it's just tennis. And that is a problem. So it's like, if everybody were enlightened, they wouldn't have to put the qualifiers on in a man's press conference. But the way that it is now, I don't mind that he's bringing it up and making them think about it before they make these bigger, broader statements.
Yep.
So kudos to Andy Murray.
Yes, that's my boy.
And you wanted to talk about Nick and
Yeah,
coaching.
let's talk about Nick McCarville and on-court coaching. And so he did a wonderful interview. And so in this picture, he's showing, you know, just with seeing the ball and the heart. that the quote is, "One of the reasons why I love tennis is because it's a mental game. You're out there by yourself with no coaches, and you've got to see the match through yourself. You've got to be mentally tough." And so that's what I love about tennis, and that's what a lot of people love about tennis. And I get the of watching on-court coaching, but it ruins the purity of it. Like, I have a whole lot of fun quotes about on-court coaching, but I'm like, is it worth it? Is it worth to ruin the game for it? So I don't like it. And I'll confess here and now that I like Nick McCarville. I've been following him since around 2007 when he was on corned beef hash.wordpress. And that's when I was following a lot of the tennis journalists that are really popular now. So he's a good guy. So
wow,
he's
you have been a long time fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've been following him for a while. And he is very good, and he's kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
He does a lot of tournaments, and then he also does Olympics stuff. So he's really impressive. Kind of his trajectory. I mean, you just keep kind of seeing him in more and more stuff. I agree. I agree about the on-court coaching thing. I absolutely despise it. And the upsetting thing about it is that the WTA president said that they're actually planning on putting more of it in. And now they're talking about at the USO in the
qualifying. Yep. And of course with the NEXTGEN.
Yeah, they're allowing coaching
finals
from the stands. And it's just like, obviously some of them are already doing it, but it's odd to me that they have a big thing about trying to speed up the game, but then they're going to let them talk to their coaches in the stands between points. And it's like, isn't that going to lead to a lot of time violations? And I don't know. I don't even know
muttering,
what that's
and
like.
It's like, we all know Andy talks to the coaches, but Yvonne, he's just like stone-faced Yvonne. And it's like, no, I'm not going to coach you through this. Like, you're out there on your own, dude. Like, play your tennis, play your game. If you can't construct the points, if you can't win for yourself, then you don't honestly deserve to win. And he just played a better game, and you just have to accept defeat, like we were saying. And some people just want to get their coaches to help them figure it out. And it's like, no, that's not what tennis is about to me.
Right. And that was John Millman, who's an Australian tennis player, tweeted about this and said, coaching from stands allowed at the US Open? Rubbish. How about those who can't afford a traveling coach? It widens the gap even more. And then he hashtagged it top heavy.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's like the guys at the top already have like a team of 6 people and their own personal physio and all this kind of, they already have all these kinds of advantages. And then now they're going to have a person's going to be able to have their coach shouting stuff to them, telling them where to serve and all this. And the other guy is out there by himself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just going to suck to me. That they just, I guess they're trying to do things that are going to, that they think is going to bring in the more casual fan. And I guess people like drama or whatever. But the thing about on-court coaching to me has always been it's an international sport. So many of the players and coaches are speaking a language that we don't understand. Watching people shout at each other or, look like a stone-faced, or there's a lot of times there's just like weird interactions.
Yeah.
And I don't think it makes anybody look good. And just like you were talking about earlier about how you love watching the players enact their tactics and things on court, that's what we love about tennis. Is like I love it when Stan gets he loses the first set or something, and then you see him towards the end of the first set starting to do different things. And then, the next set, we're going to try this. Oh, he's hitting this kind of a ball now. And that's so entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to see him shouting at Magnus on a changeover. So I think we're in agreement here.
Yeah.
And Nick is cute. We're in agreement on that too.